say that you could sell your wholesale flower for 1,200 a pound, right? That's kind of a good average. But if it doesn't pass microbials, then if you don't have your own in-house extraction, your only option is to sell it basically as trim for somebody else to extract. And let's say you get $200 a pound for that. So now you're losing $1,000 a pound for anything that won't pass test. Those numbers add up really fast, right? For it, let's just say our experience is that without any kind of decontamination, that growers are failing somewhere around 15% of their product fails microbial test. So depending on how much you're growing, 15% of that at $1,000 a pound, the numbers add up really fast.
Yeah, I just wrote a rebate check, 500K, call free money. You can change your life in a day, all good. You ain't gotta find me to thank.
Welcome back to the Money Talks podcast. Today we are joined by Jeff Adams. He's the founder and managing director of XRPure, and also Joseph Bancheri. Is it Bancheri or Bancheri? I was freaking out about that earlier.
Yeah, Bancheri is fine, but you're on the right path with Bancheri. So
okay, Bancheri, whatever mood you're in, it's Bancheri or Bancheri. He's the company's sales manager, and XRPure is a pioneering X-ray cannabis decontamination technology that eliminates mold, bacteria, and other harmful pathogens without compromising the flower's integrity, which is the most important part. And it's recently been announced that they're taking some of their talents to Canada, so congratulations on that. Jeff and Joe, how are you guys feeling today?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to tell people a little bit about what we do.
Absolutely. And so before we get into XRPure, I just want to know a little backstory, like Cliff Notes, how you guys got here. We'll start with you, Jeff. How did you get into work? Did you always know you wanted to work in the X-ray field? I know you have a bit of a background in engineering, correct? And according to your LinkedIn, an MIT student from 96 to 98. Am I right or wrong there?
That is true. So yes, I do have a mechanical engineering degree and master's degree from MIT in mechanical engineering. And really what I studied was operations management and manufacturing. And I've done that for a lot of my career. That brought me into a company called Varian Medical Systems, which is a large X-ray manufacturing company. About 8 years ago, our piece of Varian split off and became its own company called Varix Imaging. And Varix Imaging we're the largest manufacturer of X-ray tubes and X-ray products in the world. So we've been in the X-ray business for a long time.
Amazing. What about you, Joe? How'd you get into this crazy world of X-rays?
Yes, it's been a journey. I have a long background of technology sales, but I've also been a plant advocate for over 20 years. So I care very much about the plant and the integrity of the plant. That's why I'm support this technology. But yeah, I'm definitely the weed guy on the staff. So that's where I come in. And yeah, I just really, like I said, I support the tech, and I really like our equipment. I've worked with our competitors. I was a sales director, wholesale sales director in Nevada for 5 years in the legal market as well. So
nice. So you kind of speak the language of the growers and cultivators.
Yes.
Nice.
I'm our street cred that Jeff likes to say.
The street cred. You got to have
just
that.
One little add-on from my side. Being in the X-ray world, just a few years ago, we started to understand the sterilization capabilities of X-ray. And one good application for that is cannabis, right? And through testing and other things, found out that it's very effective at sterilizing cannabis. And happily enough, it doesn't affect the properties, right? It's not going to kill your terps, not going to reduce the THC. It's very good at killing the bad stuff and leaving the good stuff. And so that made it a great application for us to build a product around and start working in the cannabis industry.
Amazing.
So, yeah, we have pre and post. I was going to say we have pre and post data on that as well. And this technology is, it's used on food, blood. Been used for many years for the same thing. So it's just a different application, the same application with a different type of product. So.
Does are people surprised to find out that because like when most people think about x-rays they think about, oh, I have a broken bone, I'm going to the hospital. Are people surprised to find out that you could use x-ray technology to decontaminate cannabis?
I think people are very surprised. Honestly, when I first heard about it, I was surprised about it. And as I dug in more, then I started learning, like Joe said, that this kind of technology has been used in food sterilization since the 1950s. It's been used in medical device sterilization and other places like that. So it's really not a new technology. It's an application of that technology to a new field, which is legalized cannabis, which has just come about in the last 10 to 15 years.
And when medical sales rolled out in I think 1996 in California, I'm sure decontamination was important. How did people decontaminate their cannabis before X-ray technology?
Joe, you'll probably take that one. I'd say they
I
didn't.
mean, I don't think it was a thing, to be honest. I think it was, I just, maybe it wasn't as regulated. I know California still isn't as regulated as most other states. So, like Nevada, Massachusetts, we're at a 10,000 CFU limit. Some states are at 100,000 CFU. Some states don't really, it's not a big deal. So each state is run differently. Certain states that have to be under 10,000 CFU have to use some type of technology. And then there's other technology out there, right? Like ozone and RF, which is, I believe, hurts the plant. So that's why I don't advocate for those. So.
Got it. So, what are the contaminants you're normally looking out for? Like, what are the biggest red flags when you think about decontaminated cannabis?
Yeah, there's a couple there. When you look at the state regulations, the way they're written, they'll usually give a limit on overall microbials and then some specific things like aspergillus is a big one. Things like E. coli and salmonella, they'll call those out and test those specifically. And then otherwise, just an overall microbial level, which could be general types of fungus or mildew or even bacteria can show up on those kinds of tests. And so, really, what they do, I think the big turning point is using marijuana for medical use as cancer therapy and things like that. Someone who's got a compromised immune system can be very sensitive to microbes in the cannabis, and especially because it's going into your lungs. If you were eating something that had bacteria on it, your stomach takes care of a lot of that stuff, and it keeps it from hurting your body. When you breathe it in, you don't have that protection from your stomach, and so it just comes right into your body. You can literally start growing mold inside your lungs, which is not a good thing. And so I believe those reasons are why states, as cannabis has become legal, states have started to put these limits on microbials because medical science has discovered that there are some risks there.
Nice. And yeah, it is interesting that every state's different when it comes to regulations and the rules. What states specifically are like maybe the most strict when it comes to like testing for the contaminants?
The most strict one that I'm aware of is Illinois. Joe mentioned CFU per gram. So CFU stands for colony forming units per gram. So basically, that's a measure of how much microbial content is in there. So 1,000 CFU per gram is very low, very difficult for a cannabis grower to meet that standard. Very common across the nation is 10,000 CFU per gram. Joe mentioned that's in Nevada, and many other states enforce that. And then there's some states where 100,000 CFU per gram is the limit, and that's for most cannabis growers. If they're cleaning regularly and they've got good practices inside their grow, they can meet that 100,000 CFU without some kind of technology like ours.
But for an outside grower, it's very hard to be able to compete with that for sure.
Right.
So
Yeah, outside grow, you can't control what goes into it, right? So what's floating around out there in the air. So really, outdoor growers would need something like us.
Yeah. So, and then Joe, when you first talk to cultivators about your technology, what are some of like the main questions you get, concerns you get when you're talking about the X-ray technology you guys have?
well, if they're not, a lot of them are pretty familiar with it, but some of the smaller groups that, are needing something like this, they're concerned if it's okay to work around, stuff like that. And the machine is fully protected. You don't have to wear any badges around it. Doesn't need any safety room, anything like that. It's super easy to use. And then on top of that, it's at the highest FD regulations. Jeff could probably speak to that a little better, but if everything went federal tomorrow, you wouldn't have to do anything with our equipment. It's already at the highest standards.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah.
That's amazing. Do you guys see a world where cannabis is federally legal maybe in the next 10 years?
I do. I think we're stepping towards that. I think everybody thought that would stop with President Trump, but honestly, we've seen that Trump has issued statements that he's committed to legalizing cannabis and he's directing people towards that end. So we're definitely planning on it. For us, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Right.
And so we believe there will be a nationwide standard. And there's enough states that are legal now that I think it, be able to settle on kind of a common thread, especially in this area in microbial contamination. I think we'll get there. And yeah, how soon that happens, that's the real question.
Yeah. I mean, there's a few politicians in a few states that worry me, but for the most part, we're collectively on board. So, for someone who's
Yes.
unfamiliar, can you walk us through what happens to the cannabis flower during the X-ray decontamination process?
Yes, for sure. So the way that X-ray works with cannabis is that X-ray is basically delivering energy to the plant, and that energy is the exact right size to be absorbed by the DNA, which is inside of a microbe. And I know we're getting down into the technical stuff here, but that DNA strand and that X-ray are almost exactly the same size, and so it absorbs that energy very readily, and it basically breaks apart the DNA strand and it kills that microbe. But that process takes some time. It's not just like an instant zap, like in a microwave or something like that. Takes some time. So for us, for our system, you can put 15 to 20 pounds of cannabis flower in the system at one time, and it'll take somewhere between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to fully decontaminate that up to a level of what's called 2000 gray. Gray is a measure of X-ray dose. And you can do a heavier dose or a lighter dose depending on how contaminated you think the product is. But it's not just a 10-second thing. It takes some time for it to be absorbed.
Got it. So it goes into the DNA of the microbes and makes it disappear, breaks it apart. What exactly
Yes.
happens to that DNA?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it basically kills it so that it can't replicate anymore, right? It's not growing anymore. And then the other side of it is what's happening to the plant itself. At this point in the process, this is after cutting and curing and drying and trimming and all of that. Basically, just before packaging is when someone is irradiating the product. And the plant is already dead at that point. It has chemicals on it that are valuable that we want to make sure stay intact, but the plant itself is dead. And so we talked about the size of that X-ray being similar to a DNA strand. The size of one single plant cell is like 1,500 times larger than the size of that X-ray. And so really the X-ray just passes right through the plant cell. It doesn't do any harm to that. It's very targeted at those microbes. And that's why it does such a good job of killing microbes and not hurting the other stuff.
Got it. Because
Yeah.
of how.
And that's been,
Go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say that's been another stigma about it is the X-ray goes right through the plant and it gets absorbed into the cabinet walls. And people, and initially I would hear people saying like the weed is radioactive and stuff like that. And we've made a little bit of video to debunk that.
How big of a part of your job, especially Joe, since you're the one like in the field talking to the cultivators, is like debunking some of these conspiracies and like, letting these people know that the integrity of your plant will not be compromised.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I spent my whole life debating with people about um, weed versus alcohol or cigarettes, that stoners are lazy because I've always been a very active smoker. And So now it's just debunking about, the weed's not radioactive and try to, once I learned the science, um, just how Jeff explained it and everything, it's a lot easier for me to explain to other people and understand. So it's been, just basically helping people understand, but of course people are going to have their beliefs and their stigmas that they want to hold on to, they can't let go of, stuff like that. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
like, it's
yeah,
it's just presenting facts and do what you want with the facts, but these
yeah.
aren't opinions,
Yeah.
these are
And then another test that we're doing is we're going to do a stabilization test. So we're going to have flour that hasn't been run, flour that's been run, and then tested after 6 months in the jar and after 12 months in the jar to show that it actually helps um, keep the everything stabilized in the jar over time. And we're hoping that people are going to want to make sure that their flour has been purified or decontaminated. So.
Oh, so it's not the benefits don't exist only in like decontaminating it, but like preserving it
Shelf
over
life.
time?
Yeah.
It improves the shelf life. Just think of this: if you've basically knocked the microbials down to zero before you put it in a package, as long as you put it in a clean package, it's nothing's going to grow in there over time. But let's just say that your limit was 10,000 CFU per gram, right? And you sent out a batch that got tested, and it came out at 9,000 CFU per gram. They're like, oh, great, it packs. I can send this on and get it packaged. Well, those 9,000 CFU per gram are going to start growing and multiplying over time, even inside of your package. And a month later, you open that bag and it's moldy inside. The doing the decontamination will stop that whole process, so it's clean going into your package. It's still going to be clean months later.
Interesting. And this is the Money Talks podcast, so something I really want to talk about is like the financial impact because contamination isn't just a quality issue, but it's a financial one. So, can you share some examples of how like contamination can wipe out profits, especially in today's cannabis market?
Yeah, I think we talk about that in two or three ways. One is talking about the end market. There's clever cannabis boards out there who send out secret shoppers and stuff, right? And they're trying to kind of trap cannabis growers or catch them with moldy product or whatever recalls and things like that. That can be that can do huge damage to your brand, to your reputation, right? So people start shying away just from that standpoint. If we back it up to the actual grow and what happens for them, so just think of this. I'm going to just talk in round numbers here so it's easy to do the math. But say that you could sell your wholesale flour for 1,200 a pound, right? That's kind of a good average. But if it doesn't pass microbials, then if you don't have your own in-house extraction, your only option is to sell it basically as trim for somebody else to extract.
Mm.
And let's say you get $200 a pound for that. So now you're losing $1,000 a pound for anything that won't pass test. Those numbers add up really fast, right? For it, let's just say our experience is that without any kind of decontamination, that growers are failing somewhere around 15% of their product fails microbial test. So depending on how much you're growing, 15% of that at $1,000 a pound, the numbers add up really fast.
Nice. And we talk to a lot of growers, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this as well. Like margins are pretty tight right now across the industry. Do you guys see decontamination technology becoming like more of a necessity than an option for cultivators?
I do. I think that is kind of a difficult question for a lot of growers, right? Because growers are margins are tight, and a lot of times they'll look at our product as, an add-on. This is some extra cost that I have that's not bringing me any value. We obviously try to help them understand what the value is, but I can see why they would see it that way. Um, we try to explain that you're protecting your long-term value, you're protecting your crop, and you're improving your shelf life, you're improving your yield. Everything that you grow can now be sold, where maybe in the past only a certain portion of what you grow could be sold. So it does, in the end, it does add up, dollars and cents wise. It does add up.
Yeah, and I will say from the facility I worked at, like everything had to go through the machine before it got tested. We didn't want, our lots, we only have 5 pound lots here in Nevada. If you test every 5 pounds. So you don't want any fails at all. It was just basically a step of the process, part of the SOPs. So.
Got it. And then, do you guys have any like specific case studies where a cultivator saw significant like financial improvements after using your technology?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, one of our very first customers was failing about 33% of what they grew. And trying to remember exactly, I think they were doing about 400 pounds a month. And, so they're failing over 100 pounds a month. And immediately after we put in the machine, every single lot that they've grown since then has passed and they've been able to sell it. And so it was an immediate financial boost for them.
Yeah, it seems like a necess. I mean, there's so many steps you need to take to like from like the seed to the weed that someone's consuming. It just seems like a necessary step
Yeah.
and it only takes an hour and a half.
Yeah, an hour and a half. So it's not, and so you can do well over 100 pounds a day if you've got that kind of volume. Maybe let me just mention one other thing is we understand very well that capital is hard to come by in the cannabis industry, right? Borrowing money is hard, it's difficult. So we actually have taken a different approach than many of our competitors. We lease most of our equipment.
Wow.
And so it's a fairly reasonable price. There's a fee for us to get the machine out there, get it set up, and all of that. But then it's just a monthly lease fee. All of the maintenance, any kind of repair, any kind of problem with the machine is all included in that lease. And so it's not like, hey, it's 6 months down the road, something breaks, and then, it's another $30,000 for us to come out and fix it. It's all included. You just pay your monthly amount and your machine is going to run. And so that has helped a lot of people get into this technology without having to come up with a huge chunk of money to make it happen.
Right. There's just so many monthly costs for growers. Hopefully one day that this equipment that you guys make is rebatable, so we could work together and get them some cash incentives because it is energy efficient, I assume, right?
Well, it does use power, right? We have some of the more powerful systems on the market using either 12 kilowatts per hour or 16 kilowatts per hour. And so, based on the cost of electricity in your area, definitely that's going to make a difference. And maybe that puts them into rebate territory or
Yeah.
something. I'm not really sure on that side of it.
Yeah, who knows? And then this is a question for you, Joe. When I'm sure you've been into hundreds of facilities, thousands of facilities, right?
For sure.
What do you? I mean, there's just so many costs. Where do growers like? What do growers waste the most money on? Would you say?
Oh man. Um, I don't know. I feel like they have to buy all these different things just to dispose of the like roots and stuff like that. They have to spend all this time disposing roots because of the control boards. Like, what is someone going to do with the root? I don't know. I just feel like they're made to do that, and it wastes a lot of time, which is also a lot of labor costs and stuff like that. So
Interesting. Yeah, I
that's
never even thought about that.
Yeah. I feel like cannabis companies are unfairly targeted from the standpoint of like fees and taxes and things like that.
Yeah.
They're getting killed in every local municipality, every county, every state. It seems to be just trying to milk them for everything that they've got. And I don't like that, right? I mean, they should have an even, they should be able to compete like any other business, right? Have a tax structure like any other business. And so I think they're at a real disadvantage right now because of that. And I hope to see if cannabis becomes legal or whatever, then the financial laws will change and they can get a much more fair treatment.
Yeah, and isn't it a thing where like if you're a cannabis grower and you buy a facility, you're paying way more money for that facility than if you were just like a dairy farmer or any other business, right?
it's
And
probably
then
probably a premium on it for sure. Yeah.
yeah, it's just completely unfair. You're right, they're unfairly targeted. So now I want to talk about more like consumer awareness because a consumer as a lot of our viewers are. You have a survey that showed that 9 in 10 Americans want cannabis decontaminated, but they don't really understand the methods. So, what does this say about like consumer education, and how important is consumer education to you guys?
Well, I'll comment on that first. We think it's very important because brands, our customers are the brands, right? And brands can be hesitant. There's an idea out there now that radiating cannabis compromises it in some way, right? That it's less than and if you didn't do that, and people, the general public, also share that view. So we're working hard. Joe just mentioned he recently shot a video, kind of debunking some of the myths around cannabis, X-ray, and all of that. We want to continue to educate customers that this actually makes it safer. So we think that a brand ought to be advertising that they radiate their cannabis and saying, look, hey, we're providing you clean weed. You know it's clean because we went through this process, where you might be rolling the dice if it didn't. But a lot of people don't see it that way because I don't think the general public yet has that point of view. Although our survey kind of proved the opposite. Our survey said that most people wanted it decontaminated, especially medical patients. Almost everybody said that they wanted to be decontaminated.
Yeah, and also educating people on the different ways, I think, is huge because the integrity of the plant part, right? You want to make sure that you're getting exactly what the grower is intending for you to have, and not where like ozone is a gas that I've seen turn the weed brown, and I opened up a bag of weed and smelled nothing. It was a very sad day for me. So RF is basically microwave, so you have potential to heat up that flower, and that's also going to cause issues with the integrity of that plant. Where X-ray, it's ambient temperature in the cabinet. X-ray goes right through it, kills what it needs to do, and then you still have the full integrity of the plant. So that's what we need people to understand, the differences, and then the benefits as well. So.
Got it. And how do you think brands should approach like labeling when cannabis has been decontaminated? Is there a sticker? Like, what's the best way for them to like really get the word out that this is safe, decontaminated cannabis?
Oh, I want to make a sticker that says XR purified on it, but we're not there yet.
That's
So.
good. That's great marketing. Let me know. I
Let's
know.
print some of those up, Joe. Let's print some of those up. We'll get them out.
XR purified, yes.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Is again, every grower that we talk to, we try to preach that message of it actually makes your product more a premium brand, guaranteed clean, etc. And some buy that, some don't.
Right. And from a marketing standpoint, it's so hard to market any cannabis related brands because of the social media and, with Google AdWords, recreational drugs. It's tough to get the word out there.
Yeah.
So, as me as a cannabis marketer, it's so important to have like, respectable cultivators that we've worked with to like get testimonials from them, because those are the ones that like the newer growers are just like listening to and absorbing information from. So do you guys, is that kind of like a part of your marketing approach to, after a cultivator really does have a good experience with you, to get a testimonial? And I guess, how eager are these cultivators to sing your praises?
That's a really interesting question. We have published a few testimonials from customers that have done that. Some customers love to use our technology, don't necessarily want to publicize it. So we respect their privacy on that. If they don't want that message out there, it's okay with us. But we definitely are asking for that from our customers, to demonstrate just what you said, right? Teach more people out there that this is a viable technology, that big companies, MSOs, are using it. Both small growers and big growers are using it, and it's making the product safer for consumers.
Awesome. And so you guys recently, tell me about how like this Canada thing came about. You guys, having a footprint in Canada, doing business in Canada? How did this happen?
Yeah, Joe, why don't you talk about sort of the marketing side, and then I'll talk about the regulatory side.
Yeah, well, one of our partners, someone I've worked with in the cannabis field for a while, Alan Strangford, he's got a good network up in Canada. He's worked with all the big growers, Aurora, Mira. Um, I can't even name them all, but he was our go-to guy at another company that I work with on him, and he is very savvy as far as anything that goes inside of a cultivation. And he came down, he learned about our technology, and he's fully on board, knowing our competition and stuff like that. So it's been great partnering with him, and then also since they are federally legal, they can export to Europe and to other countries, whatnot. So it's going to play a big part in exporting the flower to other countries as well. So
And then on my side, we designed and built the machine here in the United States. We're compliant with all the FDA regulations and other regulations having to do with electrical safety and X-ray safety, things like that. But then there was an effort on our side to go through and make sure that we're compliant with the same laws in Canada so that we can get that stamp of certification right and we put that on our label and be able to sell it up there. So that's been a little bit of a process on our side to get ready for that.
Mm. How do the Canadian cannabis laws differ from the U.S.?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I think they're very
yeah,
similar, 10,000 CFU per gram. I know that decontamination has been done in Canada for a long, long time.
yeah,
And one of the common ways there is gamma irradiation. And gamma can make more sense to somebody in Canada because gamma can do a huge batch of it all at one time. You basically load up a semi truck full of boxes of weed and you drive it to the gamma facility and run it through in a day or two there and then bring it back. Um, and you can't really do that in the US very well because, it's hard to cross state lines and things like that. Um, but anyway, people are starting actually to transition towards technology like ours because even if they can transport it, they have to have somebody with it all of the time. 24 hours a day, somebody's watching over it, whatever. Even the gamma facilities sometimes don't like having that high value of product in their facility. And this way, we're an in-house, in-plant solution. We can put our machine in their plant and they can just do it all in-house. They don't have to send it anywhere. It's all under their control. And so even people that have done gamma in the past are looking to our technology to keep it in their own place.
Nice. And so you guys had the XR12, then the XR16. When's the XR20 coming out?
That is a great question. I'll talk to our X-ray tube guys, but I will say this: even the XR12 completely moved the bar in the X-ray industry. And people out there don't understand what's in the X-ray industry or whatever, but prior to that X-ray tube, the most powerful tube on the market was a 6 kilowatt tube. And so we doubled it with our first effort at 12 kilowatts per tube, and then took it one more step to 16 kilowatts per tube. So what's happening right now is our competitors they can see the power and the throughput that we can get with our machine. And so they're trying to copy that. And they do that by adding more and more X-ray tubes into the same machine, 2 tubes per machine, 3 tubes, 4 tubes per machine. And so that really adds to the complexity of those machines. We can do the same power with 1 tube that it takes them sometimes 3 or 4 tubes to get. And we joke around and say, more money, more problems, and more components in your system leads to more problems. And a simple system is a reliable system, and that's what we build.
yeah. I was gonna add on to that. We have a super simple design, and we have really no powered moving parts. We have one heat exchange that's powered moving part, and for them to be able to get the get through the flower, they have to move things around. So they got movement on the flower. They've got vacuum pumps to keep their tube in vacuum. Where our tube is already fully vacuumed, no motion, just one power moving part. So, yeah.
Got it. And then, so you guys, you're based in Vegas and you're at MJ Biz every year. I assume you're going to be there this year, and you're going to
Yes.
bring the actual XR16 machine to MJ Biz. How the heck do you do that? How do you get, what is it, 5,000, a 5,000 pound X-ray machine on the floor at a convention center in Vegas?
That's why Joe works out every day. He just picks that thing up and hauls it over there.
Yeah, no, it's a whole process. We were there last. I think we were right catty corner from you guys. I think I saw you guys last year.
Hmm.
But yeah, getting that thing in there is a beast. Just shipping it wherever we ship it to. We have to have forklifts and this and that. But the MJ Biz is a whole different animal because we have a whole queue to wait in and their whole setup for moving the equipment and all that's a whole process. So it's kind of a pain. But yeah.
Yeah, it's, go ahead.
Honestly, though, Ethan, a pretty typical forklift can lift it up and move it. And once it's on a flat floor, you can actually just put it on a pallet jack, and two people with a pallet jack can roll it pretty much anywhere on a flat floor. So,
Nice.
yeah, it's big, and we're careful with it, but it's not ridiculous. And
Got it.
we've in people's grow facilities, we take it around corners, we take it through doors. It'll fit through a standard 36-inch door. And so we've shoehorned them into a lot of places.
Wow. So what are these conversations at MJ Biz or at like, you guys just at Canacon in St. Paul? What are these, when someone stops by your booth, what are maybe some of the first questions they ask you, whether they be cultivators or, LED CEOs, et cetera?
Yeah. I think there's a couple of common things. Somebody who's familiar with X-ray technology, their first question is, how much can it do in one batch and how long does that take? Because they're typically looking for throughput, right? Other people are, like you said earlier, they're like, what? X-ray can it decontaminate cannabis? Tell me about that.
Yeah.
So we sort of run the whole gamut of starting right from the beginning of how does the technology work, all the way to what is our throughput, what's our advantage in the marketplace, how much does it cost, things like that. So
Nice. And MJ Biz is coming up in December. I guess we're at that time of the year where it's like, every day you got to be thinking, for our company, because we kind of go above and beyond every MJ Biz. So it's kind of like 3 hours a day just already planning. How much, do you guys plan for MJ Biz? It's got to be nice that you're based in Vegas and it's already in Vegas. But yeah, what does that planning process look like? Because that's a big opportunity to really get your name out. Like there have been brands that have really, gone to MJ Biz and their lives have changed. So yeah, what does that planning process look like for you guys?
well, like you said, we've already started. What's our booth going to look like? What kind of message are we trying to get out there? We coined a phrase a while ago called fantastically simple. We believe the XRPure machine is fantastically simple. So that's going to be a theme of our booth. And then also the consumer education piece that you talked about. That's one of the reasons that we did that survey, trying to understand what do cannabis consumers think about us, think about our product, think about growers that use our product. And so we'll have kind of two big messages there. We have a simple and reliable machine, and consumers actually want growers to use our technology. We're focusing on those two messages.
Nice. Um, do you guys have any like merch? Because I have a merch idea. Since you're an X-ray company, you can have like a full body suit and it just shows your bones, like an X-ray. Maybe with some cannabis on the bones. I don't know. Do you guys have, I'd love to stop by and maybe trade merch at MJ Biz. Do you guys have hats, shirts? What swag do you guys typically give out? Because that's a big thing that we're thinking about right now.
Yeah, well, that's kind of my department. We've got some my favorite lip balm. It's that nice little lip balm guy. We've got lighters. Um,
Nice.
T-shirts.
Sure.
We've got a little fidget ball
Ethan,
that's
we got to hook you up with one of those shirts that Joe's got on right there.
Oh
yeah,
yeah, heck
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, we got a fidget ball that's very addictive. So that's people love that one. I see them, they can't get it out of their hands. So I
Wait,
saw that at another convention. I'm like, we need that. And we got
fidget
it. Look,
ball, what do they do? Are they
it's
these
just
spinners?
no, it's a ball, but you like you press in these bumps, and then you squeeze it at the end, and they all pop out. But it's very,
Oh my
yeah,
God, yes.
yeah,
Everyone was playing with those last year.
yeah. That was ours.
Oh my God, that's crazy. You're
Yeah,
famous. You were literally famous last year for your fidget ball.
yeah, and they look like little microbials. So it's,
Yes. Oh my God, that's right. And we had a
yeah,
competition for how many, little balls
yes,
you could push in before
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's so
That was
funny.
us.
I thought that was your whole business that you just made those little balls. I didn't know.
That's part
And
of
then
it.
Joe's shirt says, "My nugs are X-rated." So that's
Yeah,
another little
Oh,
phrase here.
that's a good one. That's
yeah.
good marketing. So how big is your guys' team? And is it like, do you work remote? Does everyone like into an office every day?
Yeah, well, we have because we're part of a bigger company, we have a lot of resources from our company. So things like um, invoicing and accounting and insurance and all that stuff is kind of taken care of by our parent company. And so we have technicians in the factory that build the systems, technicians that go out in the field to install and all of that. Joe works. Joe's our full-time salesperson, but we have a network of contracted sales reps around the country, and so that's how we're doing that right now, kind of in our early stages. And so, we have full-time people for the stuff that we need all the time, and then we kind of contract, like even our marketing department. We have a partner that we a contracted marketing team that we work with to help with that kind of stuff.
Awesome. And do you guys, what states are you doing kind of the most business in right now, would you say?
That's a great question. The East Coast is really hot right now. We've put recently machines into New Jersey. We've got a contract in New York. We've got a couple of contracts in Massachusetts. So that part of the Northeast is really high. We've got a contract in Ohio that's coming up. And then down in the southern states, in Mississippi has been a big place because they changed the laws in Mississippi and tightened up the microbial restrictions there, and so it's become necessary for somebody in Mississippi to have a technology like ours. So
Mm.
we're all over, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And since I'm based in Vegas, I know a lot of the cultivations out here, so we've got quite a few machines here in Vegas as well.
Good.
And then also, I'm always looking for referral partners. So I wanted to put that out there as well, that we do a lot of referral business with people that are already talking to the same customers, stuff like that. A lot of, we work with a lot of labs. They're always seeing who's failing and stuff like that. So to at least let them know they have another option.
Absolutely. I will keep that in mind. I'll let our sales team, and we have a bunch of like referral ambassadors as well who are kind of like, they
Nice.
get so yeah, we can do business together. Who
Yeah, I'll
knows?
connect on that for sure.
Yeah. So and something about consumerism that I've been talking to a lot of people about is that like it's interesting that Gen Z and the younger generation, they're rejecting alcohol. Less and less people are drinking, less and less people are going out. Do you think that's gonna equate to more people consuming cannabis? I know like some people are just like stone cold sober. They don't want to drink, smoke, do anything. They just want to go on runs and eat healthy, and that's great. I support that. But also, like, we work in the cannabis business, so we want people to healthily consume cannabis. What do you think about like? What are your thoughts on like the future, like the younger generation and like their consumption with cannabis?
My personal opinion, I think that's only going to grow, and I also think a big thing that contributes to that is edibles. Because there's kind of a stigma and stuff around the smell and all of that, and I know people like to smoke, but some people want to get that feeling without the smell and whatever. So I think that's a big deal. When we did our survey, we just sent it out to random people. We didn't target certain kind of people or whatever. And more than 50% of our survey respondents said that they used cannabis on a regular basis. I personally, honestly, was surprised at that. I didn't realize that there was that big of a community out in the U.S. And then I think you go other places, that's probably pretty similar. And so in my mind, it's going to be more regulated, which will make it safer. And I believe that's going to make the market grow a lot.
Totally.
Yeah, and I just read this trend about drinks. All the hemp-based drinks, there's a huge uptick right now. People are getting away from alcohol. I fear that big alcohol, big tobacco, whoever it is, they don't want our industry to be so successful, and they might make it harder for us to become federally legal. That's my negative outlook on that part, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been happening for years. I mean, isn't it
Yeah.
when they were trying to push aspirin on everyone, that's when they stigmatized cannabis and the whole reefer madness BS.
What I have learned, what I will say is I've met several people who cannabis has changed their life. From the medical standpoint, a guy who had seizures really bad and just was ruined his life. He couldn't go hardly a day without a seizure. Cannabis has completely turned him around. So what I've seen is the medical benefits. I understand the recreational benefits, and I'm fine with people partying and whatever. But I am proud to be in the industry because of the medical piece of it, and I want to make a product that is good as possible to help people feel better with that medicine.
Absolutely. And those stories just need to be amplified. And it's sad that like our voices get silenced because it's like recreational drugs.
Yeah.
There's still that stigma, but there's so many. I mean, every day there's a new story about like a medical patient finally finding the thing that works for him,
Well,
after.
even on the recreational side, I went to a little talk that Jim Belushi did one time, and
Wow.
he said, if you're walking down a dark alley and you see a couple of guys up there, would you rather meet a couple of drunk guys or a couple of stoned guys? Like, I'd rather run into the stoners. So
I mean, yeah, has anyone ever gotten into a fight when they were smoking weed together?
right.
It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Um, well, I really appreciate you guys for hopping on with me. This has been a really great conversation, and thank you for making, X-ray technology digestible, because I was really worried that I was just going to pretend to understand, but you guys do a good job of like communicating the message, and I'm
Thank
sure
you.
that's, a big part. I'm sure it's a big part of, a big reason why you're successful. So, yeah, just for our audience, where can people, if people want to learn more, if people want to contact you, where can people find you?
The best way is our website, www.xrpure.com. There's a contact us link there, right? And as well as a phone number. So you can email us, you can call us. Sales@xrpure.com is a good way. Um, or our names, jeff.adams@xrpure.com, joseph.bancheri@xrpure.com. Great way to get a hold of us.
Yeah, and we're both on LinkedIn as well, which is
Yep.
super easy to
Okay,
connect that
cool.
way.
D-hums in your HVAC too. You see lights, I see money falling. Long as the rebates go through, these growers will keep on calling.